Welcome to my channel, my name's Chance, and it's time to talk about some board games. More specifically, we're going to be continuing my top 100 list, and we are finally into the top 50. Today's video is going to be on numbers 50 to 41, and you know what? Before you click away, I'm just going to start things off, so now you're stuck. So we're kicking things off with number 50, and this is going to be Gaia Project. So Gaia Project is one of the few kind of big, heavy Euro-ish games on my list, and you know, it's there because it deserves to be there. So Gaia Project, start off, it is a space economy game. Let's go with that. Space economy. I'm not going to call it a 4X. It's one where you are going out, you're putting these mines on planets, you're trying to upgrade those mines to trading posts. Basically, mines are going to produce ore for you, and then if you upgrade those mines are going to produce money for you, and then you can upgrade those into like other like research facilities or into your capital, and those are going to give you various benefits. Now, one of the really cool things about this is that on your player board you have slots for those mines and those trading posts, and as you build them, so you're going to be uncovering things on your board and basically powering up your personal player board. So as you build more mines, you're going to be getting more ore as income at the round end, or beginning of the next round, I should say. Now, the crux of this, though, is that when you upgrade one of your mines to build like a trading post, sure, you're going to be getting more credits that during the start of the next round, but the problem is you are now going to take that mine that you were upgrading, and that's going to go back to your player board. So you are going to be getting less ore on that turn. So that's going to be something that you have to kind of puzzle out, and you gotta try to figure out how many credits do I need next round? How much ore do I need next round to do my actions? And it is just this very crunchy economic numbers puzzle that you're playing. You're essentially looking at your board, you're saying, okay, I got 12 credits, I got 4 ore, I could build 2 of these buildings and 1 of those, or I could build 1 of these and 2 of those and 1 of these, and you're just trying to plan out basically that entire round around how many resources do you have. And then there's some other things going on. You have the research board with the technology tree, so you have one of your other resources is going to be knowledge, and you can spend that knowledge to move up on this research track to gain some instant bonuses, but also just to improve some of your abilities. Like, one of the main abilities in the game is being able to, let's say, terraform and colonize other planets. So there's going to be a certain distance that you need to travel. So in the beginning of the game, most people are going to just be able to colonize planets adjacent to them, but you can upgrade your range, and you can do things where you can say, okay, I upgraded my range, now I can colonize planets that are 2 away from me, which is great because you need to kind of spread out to be able to put out more of your buildings to increase your income per round. But then you need to be able to also terraform the planet, because your race is going to have a specific type of planet that they want to inhabit, and to be able to inhabit new planets, you need to spend money or usually to terraform planets into a habitable place for you. And there's a cool kind of like a color sequence for these planets, and the further a planet is away from your type of home planet, the more credits you have to spend, or the more ore you have to spend to terraform that planet into something that's habitable. So you end up with this interesting puzzle on that center board where you're competing for these planets with other players, but you're going to value the planets differently, because certain planets are going to be cheaper for you to terraform, and other planets are going to be cheaper for other players to terraform. And then you have this core part of the game that has this power cycle where your faction has power that's going to be cycling. You're going to be trying to charge this up, because that's going to allow you to take additional kind of like free actions, or do some other actions on a shared player board with kind of these pseudo worker placement spots where you can spend some resources, spend some of your power to be able to take this powerful action and then block it out for the rest of the round from the other players. But that power cycle, a lot of it is driven by interaction with other players. So you want to be building next to other players, because if they do something to one of their buildings, like they build next to you or they upgrade a building next to you, that is going to cause your power cycle to trigger, as long as you're a neighbor, which means you're like within 2 hexes of the other player. So you are trying to kind of move into where other people are at. You're trying to judge where other people are trying to expand to, because you want to be next to them so they can charge your power cycle. And then you're also, if you're playing with enough people and you guys are kind of competing for some of those same planets, you have a bit of a race to get to those planets, to get to those desirable locations next to the other players. So it's a very crunchy Euro, very I'm gonna say numbers heavy, very challenging, very hard to be good at, but I just love the combination of that crunchiness with that player interaction where you're constantly trying to pay attention to what other people are doing and where they're expanding, so you can kind of plan things out. And you can do these things where you're planning out your long-term strategy, but you kind of have to do those tactical adjustments as you see what other players do. So it has that just a nice combination of this crunchy Euro-ness with this interactive exploration board, with this just player like caring about what other people are doing to form your strategy, but also change up your tactical decisions. So Gaia Project 1, I'm always excited to play. I don't play it often enough. I did recently get the expansion, so hopefully that will hit the table again soon. Okay, I talked a lot about Gaia Project. Hopefully I did not lose you right in the beginning of this video. I tried to kick things off fast, you know? But let's move on. Let's get into my number 49, and that is going to be Wonderland's War. Now, Wonderland's War is a bag builder. It is a push your luck bag builder, kind of in the same category as Quacks, but this adds in an area control element to it. So this, once again, this stands out for me because of that player interaction. We are getting players on a shared board where you're trying to deploy your troops out onto these different locations, and then essentially if you are in conflict with another player in a location at the end of the round, you are both going to be drawing from your bag and kind of pushing your luck to see who comes out with the highest combat strength for that round. And then whoever wins gets to place out like a little castle in that area, and you move on to the next one. But you're constantly playing with this little push your luck game where as you move up this little strength track, there are certain spots where you may want to stop because that can allow you to forge upgrades on your player board because you have asymmetric characters with their own little upgrade paths, and doing those upgrades can kind of help you out in the future battles. So you might be like, you know what, I'm going to lose this battle, but I'm going to stop here on this little forge space because I'm going to do my little player board upgrade and get this advantage, and that's going to help me out in the future of the game. Now, there's also the corruption, I forget exactly, the shards or something, I forget exactly what it's called, but essentially these negative tokens that essentially once you draw too many of them, like you bust and everything goes terribly when you draw all these things. So you're kind of trying to judge, what did I put in my bag? What do I have in there? What tokens are in there? How many tokens are left? Oh, do I want to push my luck to, am I worried about busting in this battle? Do I need to win it? But it's cool because you're going to continue drawing tokens. Everyone's going to put their hand in that's in that conflict, reveal. Some people are going to reveal tokens. Other people are going to be like, nope, no token. I'm out of this battle. I am done. So I love the bag building. I love the push your luck element. Now, the game is played in these two phases. I just talked about kind of like the main conflict phase, but there's that phase where everyone's going to be doing kind of their setup. There's this little track around the tea table or whatever, where you're going to be moving around collecting these cards to do these actions that are going to allow you to put out your troops or add tokens to your bag or do some other various things, and that's going to be how you kind of set up for that conflict round. I would say that the reason why Wonderland's War is not higher for me is setup is a bit arduous. It's a bit of a pain to get to the table. Like it is definitely, it's not even a difficult game. It's like a pretty easy game to teach. Like once everyone's in the flow of it, it's like everything meshes together really well. But it's a challenging one to teach. It's a challenging one to introduce. It's a challenging one to set up and get that game initialized. So it's just a bit slow to get out. And those two separate phases, it's very hard to get a new player to understand like the importance of that first phase of that kind of table and going around that track and what the rewards are. Not the biggest issue though, but I think my main issue with Wonderland's War is the push your luck element. So, like in Quacks is a game where, yes, you're going to be pushing your luck, but it has this little catch-up element where essentially if you're falling behind, you have these rat tails that allow you to kind of boost your potion-making ability. So you kind of have this little way of catching up to other players. Now, I'd say once you start losing in Quacks, it's very difficult to kind of catch up, and once you start busting too much, it's like, yeah, you're probably out. But I feel like players can still have fun with it. Now, in Wonderland's War, if you have bad draws, there's nothing you can do about catching up. Like you can just be done. And I had one game like this where I was just getting wrecked on my draws. I was drawing those negative like shard or corruption tokens or whatever they're called. And like I had 2 or 3 battles where that was what I was drawing. I was not able to draw any of my tokens that were giving me combat strength. It was just like, I know I have other tokens in here, but I'm just drawing these ones over and over. And there was just nothing I could do in that game. And that it left kind of that sour taste. Like usually I'm not one kind of pushing to win games, like I'm just having a good time playing the games, but you know, when the game just kind of takes that much control from you, it's kind of like, why am I doing this? Like what am I doing here? So Wonderland's War, I would say for the most part, I have a fantastic time with it. Once we get over that hurdle of setting it up, teaching everybody, and getting into the flow of the game, like I would say yes, that's why it is at number 49. Like I do really enjoy this game, but it is a flawed experience. It definitely has its rough edges that I maybe needs a little more work to iron out. But I'm always happy to play it. So let's move on from Wonderland's War and let's get into my number 48. Number 48, much smaller box, way easier to set up. This is going to be Mindbug. Now, I have Mindbug Battlefruit Galaxy written down as the version, but I think I just use this as a catch-all for all Mindbug expansions and everything. I really enjoy Mindbug. This is one of my, it's a fantastic two-player game. This is a great two-player card game. Super easy to set up. Basically, you have this deck of cards, and my friend currently owns Mindbug. He's just combined two of the expansions together. Just shuffle them all together. Deal each player 10 cards. You draw a hand to 5 cards, and you guys are ready to go. You both have 2 Mindbug cards also out on the table. Then on your turn, you're basically just doing one of 2 things, really. You're either playing a card or you're attacking. There are some other actions that can come up on cards later on, but not really important for this discussion. Now, when you play that card, and these cards are all, they're all fun, exciting. I love the art on them. It's all very creative. It's all super interesting, and those abilities can be kind of crazy and game breaking. And it's kind of like, this is, oh man, it's like Magic the Gathering, but super extra light. Like, I'm not even gonna call it Magic the Gathering light, it's super extra light. Like this is bare bones Magic the Gathering. You don't need to pay anything to put these cards out, you don't need to pay anything to activate them, you don't need to pay anything to summon, whatever. You are just on your turn, you're gonna place this card down. Now, you can't attack on the same turn because you've just done your actions. Now you place the card down, now your opponent gets to respond. Now they get to place their card down. But one of the key elements of this is that anytime anyone puts a card down, the opponent, if they have a Mindbug they haven't used, they have the option to use their Mindbug to just take the card you just played. And then the player that played the card, they get to take another turn, because essentially that was the other person's action, was playing that Mindbug. And this creates this scenario where you're looking at your hand of 5 cards and you're saying, oh, this one's really good, and that one's really good. Oh, this one's really good. I want to play this one. And then maybe you're trying to get into that situation where you're trying to trick your opponent into using the Mindbug on a semi-good card so you can get out one of your better cards. Because you don't want your best card to be stolen from you. So you're constantly playing this mind game of being like, do I play my medium card? Do I play my low card? Ooh, do I play this card that I'm really excited about? But if they take it, then I have access to the other card. Maybe I can get them to waste their Mindbug on this. So I love just that double thing, that interaction that we're getting. And then I also love how quick this is to play. Like I said, you have 10 cards, players have 3 health. It goes by in, I don't know, 5 minutes or so, 5 to 10 minutes, depends on how long players are taking to think. But then once you're done, me and my friend, we tend to just say, okay, we discard those 10 cards we both just played with, and we just deal out 10 more cards each from the top of the deck, because we have that expansion, we have all those things, so we can just play like 3 or 4 rounds back to back without shuffling the deck or anything, and we just see, yeah, best of 3 or whatever, you know? So Mindbug is just a brilliant little 2-player game. I really like it. It can be a little, you know, it is that head-to-head where you're trying to whittle your opponent's health down. Some people just don't like that style of game, but I think it's a joy to play. So that's my number 48, Mindbug. All right, let's move on to my number 47, and this one is next to me. This is Whistle Mountain. So this is the second Euro that is in my top 50 here after Gaia Project. This one is much lighter, much, and I'm just going to say fun. This one is a fun Euro. I love the theme of this. Basically, there's a bridge that was built over this valley of this mountain range or whatever, and you are going out and putting up all this scaffolding, and you're going to put these machines out on the scaffolding to compete with your other players, whatever. It's definitely a bit of a point salad game, but this is so it's a Luke Laurie, and this time we got Scott Caputo on here. So I've mentioned in the past that Luke Laurie and Tom Jolly are a great combo. Like I think I talked about Manhattan Project, Energy Empire in a recent video, and I absolutely love that game from them. Now this one I would say has that classic Luke Laurie where it's going to be a worker placement with that really critical recall phase. So you're going to have these blimps that you're going to be putting out on this board. Now there's going to be some worker placement spots on the outside edge of the board. This is where you can do things like buy new machines or buy scaffolding that you're going to be placing out, or go out and buy some upgrades or get some cards or something. So some basic worker placement spots that you're going to be competing with other players for. But the main part is this board that is going to be a polyomino puzzle, and essentially people are going to be putting out these polyominoes. Those are going to have resources on them, and then you're going to have these blimps that are different sizes. So instead of going to that outside board, you can actually take your blimp and you can put it into that polyomino puzzle. You can put it out on that square grid, and then any resource that your worker, your blimp is touching, you are going to collect. So you have these different sizes. You have one that's just a single square, you have a 2 square one, and then you have a 3 square one. So generally that big blimp, that is your big resource collector. You're gonna go and throw that out on that puzzle, and you're gonna try to collect a bunch of resources. And that's gonna allow you to build things faster, put out more scaffolding, build up that scaffolding to get higher and higher in this valley. And you are going to be trying to build this up because you want to build spaces for machines, because you want to put these machines out that have various abilities on them. They give you different upgrades, and they're going to just give you those points that you need. Like I said, that point salad. And this is also how you promote your workers. Once they build a machine and you cover up a worker on one of those spaces, you're going to be able to shift your worker over on this scaffolding and say, hey, you made it to rung number 3, and that's going to be more points at the end of the game. But one of the really cool parts about this game is the way that the game timer mechanism works. Because as you build up, you're going to be building the scaffolding, and once you cross the bridge, like nothing happens until you start building machines that go above that bridge. Basically, this has a little bit of a environmentalism, you know, shoved in there, which I think is really cool, because essentially as you build machines, you are going to be causing the melting of the snow caps on those mountains, and it's going to start flooding that valley. And the water levels are literally going to rise on the board. There's these little horizontal water tiles that as you build a machine that goes above that ridge, you're going to take one of those horizontal water tiles and put it on the board, covering up pieces and flooding machines that can no longer be used during the game. And it's just really cool that you're going to be flooding these spaces out. Now, the game will end once once all the workers are out of the barracks or something, and then we're going to just move on to that end game scoring. Overall, I love the theme, I love the gameplay, I love that worker placement, I love that you have the different size workers, and the different sizes actually have an impact on the gameplay. I like building up that scaffolding. I actually really enjoyed the point salad nature of this one. I usually am not crazy about point salad games, but I think Whistle Mountain just nails it. I think if you like worker placement, I think if you like kind of that, especially that resource management, and you are someone that maybe enjoys that point salad one, Whistle Mountain is one worth checking out. This is an absolute joy to play for me. Okay, let's move on from Whistle Mountain, and we are going to be doing my number 46, and this is going to be a much bigger box that I do not have in front of me. War of the Ring 2nd Edition. Now, this is a 2-player head-to-head game, and this is basically like, this is living out Lord of the Rings. Ooh, struggle to say that one. I was trying to say war and Lord at the same time. Did not work. But yeah, this is based on Lord of the Rings. You're going to be playing in Middle-earth. One player is going to be playing as the Free People and trying to get Frodo and Sam to Mount Mordor to destroy that ring. One person is going to be playing as Sauron and basically going out and attacking the free armies and destroying the free cities and trying to spread orcs throughout the land and, you know, darkness everywhere. That type of thing. Now, this game is there's a newer version of this game out, and it is not called War of the Ring anymore. It is called Dune War for Arrakis. That one I've talked about in a previous video of mine, and I absolutely love Dune War for Arrakis. Spoiler alert, that one is going to be showing up higher on my list. I rate Dune War for Arrakis higher than War of the Ring because I think it's just easier to play, easier to teach, and I get and also snappier. Like, I like the quicker gameplay in it. I like how the conflicts kind of happen a bit faster. War of the Ring feels like it's kind of plotting. You know, like the movement's not as fast, the getting into combat's not as fast. You're doing a lot more setup in War of the Ring than you are in like Dune War for Arrakis. So like if I was recommending one over the other, I would probably recommend Dune War for Arrakis for the gameplay experience. But if you're going for the story experience, ooh, man, yeah, War of the Ring is probably the one that you're gonna want to go for, especially if you're a Lord of the Rings fan. This is just fantastic. It is hard to learn, difficult to play, and you're also going to be going through, your first game is just going to be an education on the geography of Middle-earth, because a lot of the cards you're going to play are going to be referencing certain regions, and you're going to be like, Gloriandrathal, where on earth is, I don't know what that is, where is this on the map? You're going to be doing a lot of hunting for where to find these things. But I just absolutely love the gameplay of this. It still has the Dune War for, well, it's Dune War for Arrakis based on it, so, you know, it has that feeling, has that big war game feeling, putting out minis, moving your minis around, trying to bluff your opponent into attacking certain areas, trying to go behind their lines to take over their cities for some victory points. And then the Free People, the person playing the Free People, is trying to move Frodo, and they're going to be hiding Frodo on basically on the map. Like, they have the figure out there, but they're going to be doing kind of a secret movement puzzle and trying to get them to Mount Doom or whatever, to Mordor, and throw that ring into the volcano. And every time that the free people is moving that person, Sauron's going to be doing this thing called like a hunt. You're going to process like these hunt dice and stuff and see if they've located Sam and Frodo. And it just and then there's the Nazgul that come out. Just lots of thematic elements thrown in with this just gigantic war game that I think is just a joy to play. I really enjoy playing these dice chucking massive mini war games, and this one is just brilliant. And definitely brings out that experience. But I'm just going to mention it again. It is a hard one to learn. It is a hard one to set up. It has some production issues with trying to identify the different soldiers. It is a pain to look at these soldiers and be like, wait, are those... Because the free people have soldiers from multiple factions and like they are different shapes or styles, like they have a different symbol on the shield, and it is incredibly difficult to differentiate them when they're on the board, which is definitely a problem. But I can look past all that because I love playing this style game. I love playing these big two-player games, and there's definitely going to be more in the future. War of the Ring is a fantastic experience if you're willing to put in the effort to learn it, to set it up, to teach another person, or to force them to learn it so you guys are ready to play. Okay, that's going to do it for my number 46, War of the Ring. All right, let's move on to my number 45, and this is a much more box sitting right next to me. Number 45 is Ethnos. Ethnos, this is the second edition over here, and I really love Ethnos. So, unlike War of the Ring, Ethnos is a much smaller area control game. It is way easier to teach, super easy to set up, and just a very snappy experience. So in Ethnos, it is a bit of a hand management game where you are going to be, on your turn, you're basically drawing a card or playing cards. Or I should say, yeah, adding a card to your hand or playing cards. And your goal is basically to collect these sets of cards. You want to collect sets of either the same clan or the same terrain type. And every time you collect one of those sets, you're going to choose whether or not you want to play it, and you're going to place those out, and that's going to allow you to place down one of your little area control markers onto the board, because you're going to be going for these different regions, which are going to be worth different amounts of points, and they're going to be variable amounts of points, giving you a lot of variability in how that game plays out, because people are going to be going for different things every game. You also have the clans. You're going to have different clans in each game. You can deal out different clans every time you play it, and that's going to add variability because each one of those clans is going to have a different power associated with it, and that's going to allow you to trigger other things in the game. So it just has this, it has a ton of variation in this small box, and the way it plays is just brilliant, because essentially you have this draw deck, but there's going to be an open market of cards in the beginning of the game, but that open market is going to kind of dwindle down over the course of the game. Now, once someone plays a set from their hand, they're going to take their action, do their bonus ability from their clan, they're going to put out their little area control marker, but they then have to discard all the cards that were not part of that set to that open market. So, and then it just becomes a feeding frenzy for the other players, because they're just waiting for someone to play a set to refill that open market, and then everyone's like, oh, you discarded this one, oh, you discarded that one, I want that one. And then it's just going around, and everyone's just snapping up those cards in the open market, because not going through that randomness of the deck draw is just so critical in this game. I believe the game plays over a course of 3 rounds, where you're going to have some escalating scoring conditions through those areas, so you may want to set up yourself to win certain areas during the game, but there's also other ways to score points, like playing larger and larger sets of cards are going to score you more points. But then as the game progresses, you actually need to play larger sets to put out your area control markers. Basically, if you do not play a set larger than the number of area control markers you have in an area, you can't place one of those markers out. So like once you have 2 out, you now need a set of 3, and now you are forced to play a larger set. But you could play larger sets in the beginning just to try to go for those set bonuses and score extra points. And then some of the clans are going to have different ways to score points that you may be competing with other players against. So I just love the variability. I love teaching this game. I love how snappy these turns are. It plays so fast. It's a 1 to 6 player. I haven't played it at 1, haven't played it at 2. I would have no problem playing this 3 to 6 though. I think it's fantastic and plays really quick and is easy to teach. Now I will call out, there's one thing that some people may not like about this, and that's how each round ends. Basically there's these dragon cards that are shuffled in to the back, like I think quarter or third of the deck or something, and now the first dragon card that shows up, that's just a warning saying the end of the game, end of the round is near. Next one that shows up, oh yeah, definitely a warning. You're getting very close to the end. And then you're going to go, I can't remember, there's 3 or 4, but essentially that last dragon card that's drawn, that ends the round immediately, and then everyone's done. Now this is something where some players are like, well, why? That's stupid, because I want to be able to plan for this. I want to be able to say like, oh, I need to play a set right now, I need to get it out of my hand. But I love this dragon card thing because it kind of changes that risk-reward calculation that you're going to be doing. You're going to be looking at your hand and saying, ooh, I could play a set now, or I could wait and draw a card. But once you see that dragon card, you're like, it might be too risky to get a card. I may want to just get this set out now just to get this over with and move on from this. So yeah, I love how that little variable endgame mechanic changes up the risk reward towards the end of a round. It makes it a little less calculating, so players can't just kind of sit there and be like, how many cards are left? How many turns do I have left? How many? So Ethnos, I think it's just fantastic, and I am excited to play that one some more. All right. Let's move on to number 44. This is going to be another area control. I feel like you got a few area controls in this this bottom of my top 50. I definitely have more coming up, by the way, because, you know, interaction is important to me. Area control does it great. So number 44 is going to be Clockwork Wars. Now, I'm sorry to even put this one on my list. This is much harder to get, definitely a little expensive to get secondhand. I did seek this one out secondhand after watching a bunch of reviews on it. I was like, this sounds just so fascinating that I really want to play it. I wasn't certain if I was going to like it. You know, it's one of those things where it was definitely a risk. It was a risk for me to get. And I wasn't certain how I was going to land with my friends, because this is probably the meanest area control game I owned. Like, it plays up to 5 players. I have the expansion content with it, so I think base game's like 4. The expansion content takes it to 5, and it is by far one of the more aggressive, mean area control games I play. But the core of this game is that so there's a hex grid out there that you're gonna be competing over those hex spaces for. The hex spaces are gonna be kind of like Scythe, where they're gonna get you different resources. There's like 3 main resources in the game, like magic, fire, and knowledge, or something like that. But essentially, if you take control of those ones at the end of every round, you're gonna collect a certain number of resources. Now, those resources can then be used to buy some of these like upgrades. They can be used to buy some powerful units in the game. Like there's a sandworm thing that essentially acts like the nuclear option and just like blows up all the troops on a tile, and that it's like a one-time use thing, just absolutely changes the game. There's some other ones like a powerful guardian thing. There's this powerful tank that just kind of roams around the land destroying units. So that's some fun stuff. Then you have this other technology board where players can purchase these technologies, which are just game-changing. They are rule-breaking, just insane things that you're like, why does that do that? That shouldn't do that. Why would anyone make a card like that? But when they get that card, what's brilliant about this game is that the player gets that technology, but they have to place a marker out into one of their territories representing where that technology is in the land, because other players can now go in and take over that location. If the other players take over that location, they steal that player's technologies. So or that technology that's in that location. When I taught this game, I taught this phase as, look, this phase is the stealing other people's toys, okay? Like, just be prepared. And you know, Clockwork Wars is one where this taught me the value of setting expectations during a game. Like if you know a game, if you know something's going to be mean, I like to set those expectations and be like, look, you're probably going to get wrecked in this game. And then I describe this phase as, yeah, you're going to have some really fun stuff, but other people are going to steal it from you. And you're just going to have to be ready for that. So yeah, this is the stealing other people's toys phase, where someone can just come in, take that really cool thing that you just built in one of your territories, and now they have control of it, and now they get to play with it. I think it's just brilliant. But I think all of this game works because of how the deployment works. So this is a war game where you are going to do secret deployment. You have a deployment sheet that at the beginning of each round, everyone's going to write out their deployment orders. And then once everyone's ready, you're going to reveal those deployment orders, and everyone's going to do a simultaneous deployment phase. So you're not going to be able to judge based on what someone's doing. You're not doing turn by turn where you're saying, oh, you're going that way, oh, you're going that way, so I'm going to adjust my position and go out this way. You have to try to judge players based on the current board state and be like, I think you're going to come in at this way, you're going to come in on this angle, I'm going to go for this angle, I'm going to come in on your side flank and go out that way. Oh, you got a fun toy over there, so maybe I'll try to expand that direction. So you're trying to make your judgments based on, one second, dog's barking. Okay. So you're trying to make those judgments based on the current board state and trying to figure out what other people are trying to go after, what you're trying to go after, if you're going to get in the way of another player. Your neighbors are basically like your enemies. Those guys are just in the way of everything you're trying to do. And it is just a brilliant mechanism with that simultaneous deployment. Now there's this other thing in there, which is the attrition phase. Basically, you have to have your troops supplied. You got to be connected to like a town or a city or something. And if that supply line is cut off, you then have to go through a attrition, where you have to lose like one troop from each territory that does not have a supply line going to it. So this can be critical during a game where a player can come in and if they find a way to sneak in behind your lines, they can come in and cut off your supply line, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh no, that's bad. now I'm going to be losing troops each turn basically until I get that supply line reconnected, and that can just be critical in this game. So I just love this combination of mechanics in Clockwork Wars, that simultaneous deployment. There's also these either, I think they're intrigue, maybe spy cards, whatever, that are just game breaking as well. You have those technology toys that are game breaking. You have the variable factions, which have their own unique powers and abilities. You got other players got to watch out for. They got to be ready for you to use those things on you. Yeah, it is a chaotic game. It is a fun war game. It is a mean war game. If you are into that type of thing, this is one that we're checking out. Like I hope to see a reprint of this in the future. Like I really want them to do an expansion. This is just a blast to play. I'm excited to get this one back to the table. So that is my number 44, Clockwork Wars. Okay, moving on to number 43, and this is going to be Smartphone Inc. So this is basically another area control game. You know, like when it comes down to it, this is definitely area control. Now, Smartphone Inc. has this really cool blending of mechanics where you have like a little spatial puzzle that you're doing. You have these little tokens that represent the technology that's on your phone, and you're going to be building out your little smartphone with those tokens that are your different technologies or whatever, or these tiles. And how you position these tiles is going to determine the actions that you get to take during that round. So you're trying to collect these tiles to take the actions that are going to be most beneficial for you. And by setting these tiles, you're also going to do things like setting the price of your phones. You're also going to set the number of phones that you produce. So placing these tiles is just critical on that round. And what's really cool about this is that the price of your phones is going to determine who sells first. So if you price low, you get to sell in the market first. If you price high, you sell last. And that could be just devastating if someone floods the market with cheap phones and there's no one left to buy your expensive phones. But ideally, maybe you unlock technology that another player doesn't have, and there is still market spots for your expensive phones because there are certain people searching for those higher powered technologies. Now, I will say it's getting a little dated on technology. You know, I think I can't remember if it's on 3G or something for Smartphone Inc. Definitely a little out of date on the smartphone technology, but it is something that I still really enjoy playing because of that choosing to unlock technology, like choosing to upgrade your phones and then being like, ooh, you don't have 3G yet, so I can actually sell my phones for a premium and still have some market spaces to go for. And I can go for the North America market over here, and you're staying over there in Australia. Yeah, so you have this really cool thing where you can each of the markets, everyone's going to start in their own market, then you can kind of expand out and try to sell these other markets, compete with the other players to sell your phones before they can sell phones. But if you run into this situation where maybe you're really underselling your competition, but now you've gotten yourself stuck in the spot where you're like, well, I'm selling a lot of phones, but I'm not earning anything on any of these phones. Like, you sold one phone and made as much money as I did on like 4 phones. Like, that does not seem like a good trade-off here. So I really like this combination of that spatial puzzle you have with your little smartphone that you're trying to put these tokens down to determine the price you're setting, determine how many you produce, to determine if you can expand into different markets that round, and then competing with those other players based on the price point of your phone. So yeah, Smartphone Inc. It's also a quick one. This is an easy one to teach. It is a pretty quick game to play, and I just have a blast playing Smartphone Inc. Okay, moving on to number 42. And I'm sorry, I apologize, and I didn't realize this when I made the list. This is another area control game. This one's right next to me, and this is going to be Perch. I freaking love Perch. This game is brilliant. I want to do a full review on Perch. I absolutely adore this game. So this is another game, kind of like Clockwork Wars. I was pretty concerned about it. I was looking at the rules, and I was like, I don't know how this is going to land with my friends, because this game it's area control. You're going to have these tiles out on the board, and you're trying to put down your birds and build like taller and taller stacks of your birds to win control of those tiles. But when I was reading the rules, the one thing that stands out early on in this game is the fact that you're going to be placing other people's birds Potentially. So basically, like at the beginning of every round, you're going to get 2 of your own birds, and then you draw birds from this migration bag where other players, like everyone throws some of their birds in this bag. You draw 2 more because you're going to be placing 4 birds per round. But when you draw from that bag, you don't have any guarantee you're getting your birds. You're probably going to be getting someone else's birds. So you're going to have 2 of your own birds, potentially more, but then 2 random birds basically. And that's what you're going to be placing during the round. And I was like, how is this going to work? I don't like. That doesn't make any sense. Why would you place other people's birds? I feel like other people are just going to get upset at this. Like, this doesn't make any sense. Played it, and this is brilliant. I think it all ties together due to how the area control works, because in Perch, it uses a mechanic that I absolutely love in games, and it is the ties cancel mechanic. I think I recently reviewed Koinobori, and that one has the ties canceling mechanic. I also play King of 12. I think I've talked about that in another video. That has ties canceling, and it's just absolutely brilliant. Every time it shows up, I love it when that happens in the game, because what's cool about this is that the area control tiles have some interesting point scoring things. A lot of them are going to be things like, yeah, it's going to be first place gets 7 points, second place gets, I don't know, 4 points, and third place gets 1 point. Pretty standard. Other tiles are going to be like first place gets 0 points, second place gets 5 points, and third place gets 3 points. And you're like, wait, that doesn't make any sense. But a lot of times, a lot of those tiles that are going to score like very low in first place, they're going to have different powers associated with them. You can take over these other animals on the board, and those are kind of like these one-time powerful things that you can do during a round to like shift the area control board and like scare away a bird and change up the control portion of that board. Now, the reason why I think placing other people's birds works with this tie mechanic is because a lot of times you're looking at the board and you're looking at the birds you have and you're saying, if I force you two to tie over on this spot, I'm going to cancel out your points there, and I'm going to score points for myself. But by doing this, you've just made them tie. But at the same time, that player now can look at it and be like, well, now it just cost me 1 more bird to take first on that tile. Shoot. Do I want to waste a bird on that tile now? I don't know. You just forced my hand. I think I have to play a bird there now. So, yeah, and also by ties cancel, I mean that first and second place on that tile score nothing now, and only third place scores. So it's just it is a petty, aggressive game where, yes, I see this back and forth going. Someone plays a bird and they're like, I'm going to force you to tie on this tile. And then someone's like, yeah, fine. I'm going to make you tie on that tile. And then that person's like, fine. I'm going to send one of your birds to the fountain with my dog or whatever. So very, very, it's like I want to call it passive aggressive, but I feel like that's wrong. It is petty aggressive, very petty aggressive. I love that placing other people's birds. I love the tie mechanic in there. I also enjoy the animals you can take control of. Like taking control of those animals can be definitely a game changer in there. You have other things in there like competing over these nest spots that are going to be a bonus 1 bird to a tile location. You also can build in like the 4th round, you get a little birdhouse, and you can drop your birdhouse on one of your stacks to lock that one down. And that is such a hard decision to make, because by locking that one down, sure, no one can remove birds from that tile anymore, but you also can't add any more birds to that tile. So now that one's locked at whatever value you just put that birdhouse on. Then you have a zap token you get in the 5th round, and that zap token you can just like spend to zap a bird over to the fountain. And there's just some variability in how you can score points and the abilities that you get on the tiles, those special actions that you get on those tiles. I think it's a joy to play. I really, really enjoy bringing out Perch. It is a fun, chaotic, petty game to bring out to my table with my friends. So that is my number 42, Perch. All right, and now let's move to the final one on this table. This is my number 41, and it is going to be now boarding. So I've talked about this in my top 10 co-op games, and I think this is just a brilliant co-op game. I absolutely love it. So now boarding is one where each one of you every player at the table is going to be playing as an airline. You all get your own little airline. You're going to start off with like 1 passenger seat and like an engine that moves 3 spaces or whatever. And the way the game is going to work, you're going to seed this board. There's a bunch of airports on the board, and there's going to be different connectors on those boards, basically representing the flight paths that you can take. Some of them are going to be locked down to certain companies, so players are going to be their own company, and some companies are the only ones that can go down those paths. Now, There are ways where players can purchase upgrades later on to kind of like purchase partnerships to be able to unlock being able to go down those company paths. So you can like partner with other airlines to be able to go down the paths that they can go down. Now, the way each round is going to work though is that you're going to seed out these airports with these passenger cards. And those passenger cards, you're going to have some that are going to be face up at the start of the round. Then you're going to have some that are face down. But basically the face up ones tell you where that passenger wants to go. So you're going to pick it up at one airport and then it's going to want to go to another airport. And you're basically going to try to navigate your plane to that airport, put that passenger on your plane. Like I said, you're probably going to start with 1, maybe 2 seats at the beginning of the game, and then you're going to take your airplane and go to that other airport, drop them off. They're going to turn into money, which then you can use for upgrades to upgrade your plane, to pick up more passengers or to move more spaces. But so the way the rounds work is you start off with a planning phase. Everyone's going to discuss. They're going to be like, okay, hey, I can go and get that passenger. I can go and get them to, I can take them over to this airport, drop them off over here, and then you can pick them up and go and finish that leg. Because it is a co-op game. While you're earning money separately, you are trying to complete the game. You're trying to deliver all the passengers to the airport by the end of the game. That's how you're trying to win. Now, after the planning phase is done, you move on to the flight phase. The flight phase is a real-time portion of the game where players there's a little sand timer. You have about 30 seconds to complete all of your actions, to pick up your passengers, to go and drop them off at different places, to maybe transfer them to another flight to get them to their final destination. But you also have a movement limit, so once you reach your movement limit, you have to stop and wait for everyone else to be done with their turn, and then you reach the end of the round. Now, at the end of the round, if there are any passengers stuck at their airports, like they are not on a plane, you have to add anger cubes to them because those passengers have gotten upset. They're like, I've been sitting at this airport all day and I want to leave, even though it's been like an hour or whatever, So they're now upset. They're getting angry. Once a passenger has I think it's 3. Once you're gonna add the 4th anger cube, that passenger leaves. They go and file a complaint and they become one of your negative points for the game. Basically, as soon as you get, I think, 3 negative complaints, you lose the game. So you're basically trying to manage these passengers with those anger cubes. But what's awesome about this is that on that next round, sure, those passengers have anger cubes, but as soon as they're picked up, all the anger cubes are cleared. Now, yeah, you want to get them to their final destination, but maybe you can't. So maybe you're just like, I'm picking you up, and then you go and drop them off at a different airport. Sure, you're not going to get money for delivering them, but guess what? You've just cleared their anger cubes. They're not angry anymore. They are just happy to be on a plane flying somewhere. Maybe it's in the complete opposite direction that they wanted to go, but they're like, hey, at least the airline's trying. They're trying to do their best. So you can use that to your advantage of trying to just pick up people, go and drop them off somewhere else just to manage those anger cubes, just to manage those angry customers to try to avoid getting those complaints. So I think this just it is a very simple game to play. I love playing with other people. That planning phase, I feel like it's easy for players to get involved. Like if you had a good group, you can easily kind of get people and say like, hey, do you know what you're doing on your turn? Hey, do you know what you're doing on your turn? Do you need any help with your passengers over there? And then you guys can go into that real-time phase. Everyone can do their thing. It's one of those things where you can that mitigates the quarterbacking during that real-time phase because each player has only enough time to do what they need to do during that round. So that real-time, I would say, is not necessarily it's not to really cause a lot of stress around it, but it is going to cause probably some mistakes, and then also some, it prevents that one player from taking all the actions for everyone at the table, which I think is fantastic. So that is now boarding. I think this is a great co-op game if you're into that genre, and I really enjoy it. I'm excited to get that one back to the table as well. Okay. That is going to do it for my number 50 to 41. A lot of area control in this one, and I definitely have more area control in the future. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. But that's going to do it for today's video, and I just want to thank you for watching and thank you for spending your time with me, and I will talk to you next time.